Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here with us today. As part of Parklands Women Network, we've established this recurring series that we're calling Family Matters. This is designed to be an open forum on how we all balance work and life, how we can all support each other, and to understand and really emphasize on what family means and how family is different for each and every one of us. As we all know, coronavirus has put a huge strain on all of our lives, and things have been very different from normal over the last 15 months and potentially continuing longer for some of us. So we're truly looking forward to sharing stories and building a support network between all of us here at Parkland. I'm really excited to say there are currently 131 people on the call, which is just awesome for all of us. So thank you so much for being here. To kick off the Family Matters series, we invited 4 panelists to join us today. And sorry, one moment. We're just going to make sure people can hear me. As usual, I don't think I'm on mute. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, we're proud to welcome these 4 panelists who volunteered their time to talk to us today about family. So we have Kate Groves from the Refinery, we have Sheldon Springer from Barbados, we have Sarah Mercier from Calgary, and we have Hannah Harewood also from Barbados. We will be having a few quiz or survey items during the call, which will be run on Menti, which is at menti.com. So if you don't have a browser window open, pop one open now so that you can be ready. And for each survey question, you'll see the Menti link, the survey question. It'll come up on your screen, and there'll be an 8-digit code, which is different for every question that you'll need to type in. So menti.com, again, we'll send this all when it's time for the questions. And then if you have any questions for us or for any of our panelists, please send those to our Parkland Women's Network email address, which is parkland.women@parkland.ca, or you can send them to me if you have my email. So again, parkland.women@parkland.ca, or myself, Dana Cotting, one of the members of the Women's Network. So we'll start with our icebreaker poll. So Melanie is helping us run this in the background. So she's going to pop our first poll question up on the screen, and then we'll move directly to our first panelist. Our first poll question, just while that's coming up, is going to be, where would you first like to travel once all the restrictions are lifted? So again, go to menti.com and enter the code, which is 9254-0181. So again, menti.com 0181. And where would you like to first travel after COVID? And once you start, just type your travel destinations in there and we'll see them pop up live on the screen. Oh, Hawaii. I totally agree with Hawaii. Doesn't that sound amazing right now? Nice. I love it. I'm also going to travel to Vancouver Island as soon as I can. That's where my family is. I haven't seen my mom in a year or more. Lots of votes coming in for Hawaii. So the more answers we get, the bigger that font gets. Anywhere hot. We're in a heat wave in Calgary and Western Canada right now, so I don't know about the hot. Man, Hawaii's really winning out here. This is great. Spain, Portugal, Mexico, Greece. Looks great. Australia, that sounds wonderful. Miami coming up. Vegas, Montreal, yeah. Disneyland. These all sound great. I love it. Super. Well, it looks like Mexico, Hawaii, New York, Montreal, Disneyland are kind of our big winners there. Thank you, everyone. So we'll move over to our first panelist, Kate Groves. So Kate is our Director of Operations at the Refinery. She manages 120 operational staff, 100 of which are represented employees who are on site 24/7. And she says that that operations job is a 24/7 job, and her work and home life blend together often. So over to you, Kate, and we will get you to introduce your family and then tell us a little bit about your parenting experiences.
Thanks, Dana. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I guess I can't tell if they do or not, so I'm just going to keep talking. So good morning, everybody. Looks like we have 192 attendees. That's amazing. If a little bit nerve-wracking. So I'll introduce myself. I know I asked Melanie to pop up the picture. I can see on her face she's trying to figure that out. It came up and then disappeared, but that's no problem at all. So I've been at the refinery here for 23 years and a chemical engineer by training, and moved through the organization, and as Dana said, the director of operations, which is definitely a 24/7 role. Our operators are here 24/7, and sometimes incidents don't always know the time of day. So it's definitely for me and our family, work and home and kids all just kind of merge together and become the same. And I wanted to pop up that picture to really, it's always a good reminder of that. It's a picture that my daughter, Sarah, who it's her 11th birthday today, so she couldn't sleep last night. I woke her up quickly at 5:30 in the morning because she wanted me to wish her happy birthday, and she went back to sleep. So she's very excited, and it's hard to believe it's 11 years already. I also have an older son. His name is Sam, and he is 13, and I'm married to Chad. He also works here at the refinery. We met here, and so we're definitely a busy family. So I guess maybe I'll just speak to it, Melanie. I don't know if you're having problems sharing that screen again. Oh, I see something popping up maybe. Okay. So I don't know about everyone on this call, but I just love the arts and crafts that kids make for Mother's Day or Father's Day or any of those kind of things. So this was a card that Sarah made for me this Mother's Day, and some of them, I just find them really poignant because it's to see how your kids see you, I think it's an interesting way to look at the world and how we're viewed. And I particularly like this one. It's a tree where different aspects of my personality from her perspective are put in. And my favorite is the middle one, is gets things done, and careful is right above it. And what I loved about that is that's heavily influenced by my career here at the refinery. And so it just goes to show that who we are and what we do are all interwoven together, and my work influences how I parent, and how I parent influences how I work. So I'll just, if people want to know a little bit about me from my child's point of view, there it all is, and helpful as well. So I'll talk a little bit. I know I was asked to join this session to talk about parenting and COVID, and so I will share some experiences. What's really interesting about parenting and some of the work I've done with diversity and inclusion as well is that we all have diverse and varied backgrounds and diverse and varied lived experiences. And so I struggle a little bit with giving advice to people on parenting, because we all have our own stories and our own ways, and one is not better or different or better than the other. They're all just very different. So what I wanted to share a little bit is just my lived experience. So maybe people can get to know me a little bit, and how my lived experience impacts how I work and how I parent. And maybe you can relate to that, or maybe it doesn't resonate with you, and that's fine. And we can just share our experiences. So for me, growing up, I grew up in a family with an older brother and both of my parents who worked. My mom was a great role model to me growing up. My dad was a physics professor, and I say was, he's still alive, but he is retired. And my mom was she started out as a job, but eventually it turned into a career. But she was, throughout me growing up, she was always working. They both grew up in England, and she didn't do so well in school. She loved English, and that was about it. And so she was pretty much told by the school system and culture that she was best to not waste too much time in school and to finish up and go get a job and wait to get married. And so at 16, she finished school and became a secretary. And you know, that's all what happened for her. So growing up, though, she got a job out at University of British Columbia as a secretary, and part of the benefits was free tuition part-time. And so she worked full-time and over 10 years managed to get her Bachelor of Arts degree over lunch hours and evenings. So she was really a role model for me around working and having the determination to do better and be better and learn more. And so she was often, I have a lot of memories of her working or writing essays over the weekend. And, you know, I remember a Sunday around 5, I could tell she was done. For those people that are older, you might remember this because I knew she was done because the dot matrix printer would start going. You remember the noise dot matrix printers made? And it would take her about an hour and a half for her essays to print up, and she'd go off and do other things. And so I was always raised to work hard and strive to be better. She became the first woman in our family to get a university degree, and she got that just a few years before I got mine. And she continued on while working full time to get her master's in English literature. Growing up, you know, to make all of this happen, both of my parents parented equally, and there were not really gender lines within our family around parenting. It was all hands on deck, and we worked as, you know, they worked as a team. And so for me and for Chad, we have a very similar approach. We are partners in parenting, and we just work together to make sure everything that needs to get done gets done. And I would also say that, you know, we all have different experiences. We may be single parents, or we may have support from grandparents. We may not. But I can say that for anyone with children, you're never alone because you have your kids, and kids are part of the team as well. And so part of what I have learned is that you know, kids can contribute, and I think we shouldn't underestimate their capabilities and how they can help support the whole family, because you know, lives are very busy, and they have a role to play in supporting the family. So, you know, I'll finish off with a few little tips. Our kids are 11 and 13. You know, they do the dishes at the end of the day. They make their lunches. They do their own. We all do our own laundry. And so my tip would be, don't underestimate the capabilities of your children. And, you know, it's a great time to actually spend time with them when they're doing chores. You can help and do it together. And then I'd also recommend, because I just have a bit of a time check, I don't know if it's going to show up on here. I'd recommend this book. I don't know if anyone's going to be backwards. It's not working. It's Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. I don't know if you've read this book, but this is a really great book around all the challenges we have in trying to juggle everything. And I found it a really quite a good book and a fun read, and I'd recommend it to anybody who's interested in reading up more around parenting and managing all the different competing aspects that we have in our day-to-day lives. So with that, that's a little bit about me. Happy for questions, or however that's going to be managed through, Dana.
If you can send me live. So thanks a lot, Kate. That's awesome. We will go to our next Menti quiz questions. So we'll get that popped up on here. So our next 2 questions, excuse me, are, where are you joining us from today? And are you a parent? So the code is 9144-5841. So again, menti.com. You'll see it on the screen there, and the code is 9144-5841. Where are you joining us from today? Nice. We have Minot, Vancouver, Salt Lake City, Calgary, Cayman. Guyana, yes, nice. Lots of Calgary coming up, so we'll have the next question shortly. Barbados, Bahamas, Carseland, Alberta, nice. Calgary, super. So Mel, I think we can jump to the next question, which is, are you a parent? All right. So again, same code should show up on your screen if you're still logged in. Are you parent? Awesome. Thanks for, I was expecting lots of parents, of course, to be on our Family Matters session, but very happy to see some non-parents joining us as well. Welcome. Awesome. I love it. Okay, while this is wrapping up here on Menti, I'd like to introduce our second panelist, who is Sheldon Springer. So Sheldon is a facility supervisor for Sol in Barbados. He has responsibilities for maintenance in the retail network and the commercial business, and he also oversees the maintenance of the LPG, so the propane plant at the terminal. So we'll just get Sheldon up on the screen here. Sheldon, could you please introduce us to your family and give us some thoughts on parenting and parenting during coronavirus? Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you all can hear me well. I am a father of 4, 2 boys and 2 girls. And I know oftentimes people would ask me, how do I manage with 4 children? Honestly, I don't have an answer that fits everyone, but I manage by, I guess, being, caring and show them love and the support that they need. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, ages 16 to 14, 11, and 9. The girls are in the middle. The boys, my first son is my first child is a boy, and the last child is a boy. And it is difficult at times trying to manage between work and family life, because work can be very demanding at times. But I often give a listening ear to what they have to say when they get home from work. But during the lockdown period, it was even more. I was even more concerned because I was the only person leaving from home and going to work. And during that time, I would have some fears of what happens if I contract the virus and take it home to my family. And that was like in the back of my mind. But, I followed the protocols, do the necessary things, and try to be try to put my mind at ease so that I wouldn't feel guilty if one of my family was to contract the virus as a result of only my one was leaving from home at the time, because my wife is just work at home mom. I would say she manages the home. I try to, overcome that by constantly talking and doing the necessary stuff. But what a greater challenge came when it became rather than school being face-to-face, school was online, and having to find devices for 4 children is a bit costly. And for them to work from home, each child has to have its own device, because not some children will miss their classes. Their classes are all at the same time. I have 2 children at secondary school and 2 children at primary school. So each of them needed a device. And one day at work, my daughter, she was going to do an assignment. Her teacher asked her to get a book, and she got up from her desk in a hurry, and her device fell and broke. And she called me, and she was very broken. I could not understand her words. I could only understand her sighing. And she was trying to explain to me that her device was broken. And I tell her, to be calm, and I will try to have the device replaced. And I actually was able to get another device for her, borrowed another device for her, so the following day she could attend classes. I know that they all have their own personalities. No child has the same personality. All four of them are different, and it is, to me, it's amazing. I said they came from the Creator in that form, and I really, really do enjoy my children. That for me at that time was, concerning, to make sure that I did all the necessary things to make it possible for them to attend classes. When the face-to-face resumed, I had another concern in that now it wasn't my one leaving home, but how can I instill values in my children to make sure that they follow the correct protocols, that they hand sanitize, that they wear their masks, that they wash their hands properly. That was concerning for me, especially my son, which is the last, that is 9 years old. I thought to myself, I would prefer him to work from home with online school than for him to go back to school, because I'm not there to supervise or give him guidance or constantly remind him or tell him, his time he took to wash his hands was too quick. That was concerning for me, but constantly speaking to them and interacting, finding quality family time to have, constantly enforcing the values and protocols. I think that they kind of have it covered, and so far, I give God all the glory that they are doing the necessary things to keep themselves free from the coronavirus. I know during this time it's very difficult for some people to manage, because when it was working from home, sometimes they don't realize that you're in a meeting and they would ask you a question, or they would be doing something that I believe all parents can relate to, is that when there's a break in classes, they go on YouTube. And then I'm doing something, I realize that my connection is not as fast as it was before. And I just look over and see if they're smiling or if they're doing something. Then I said that you need to give me enough bandwidth to finish up what I'm doing. And that is a fun moment. They might laugh, but I would say it is coping during COVID, is challenging, but if you are consistent, affirming them that we will get through this, I believe together we can look back at this years from now and say, where we went through COVID. That is my input to the forum. I don't think I want to have any questions that they would want to ask me, but I know for me, many people wish me good luck because I have 4 kids, but I would say that don't look at the number of kids that you have, or don't feel pressured, because in these times it's difficult, but with good parenting and good support, you can make it to the end of COVID. This too will come to pass. Thanks, Mandy.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheldon. What a wonderful story, and a great message that this too will pass. And won't we be glad when it has? So again, a reminder, if you have any questions for our panelists, you can send those in to parkland.women@parkland.ca. We are monitoring that, and we will read those questions at the end. One thing that I did forget to say at the beginning is that we are recording this session, and we'll post it on the Family Matters page on the path when we're done. So for everyone who was not able to attend, I know this is a holiday in some jurisdictions, that it will be archived there, and we will post Kate's book recommendation and any other recommendations from the panelists along with the video when we do that post. So we'll go to our next mentee question. The next one is, what's the best part of parenting in COVID? And the code is 1757-7560. Mel's just going to pop that up on the screen for everyone. Again, menti.com. What's the best part of parenting during COVID? And the code is 1757-7560. You can see it there on the screen right now. Family time. I mean, I think that's the one for all that having the kids at home, as Sheldon's saying, you know, they can use up all your bandwidth, but at the same time, how wonderful to get to spend all these months so close with your kids and get to see how they're learning and how they think about being at school and getting to really see all those milestones. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, we're not getting as many answers to this one. Maybe folks are thinking that they're maybe their answers are all represented. There we go. Quality time. Perfect. Oh, now they're coming in. No morning stress with the kids. Yeah, I know some people that I work with have said that not having to do the crazy commute in the morning of getting the kids in the car, driving them to school, and then driving to the office during rush hour has been wonderful. Teaching your kids to appreciate the things they take for granted. I love that. Watching my boys become best buddies and play together. Isn't that nice? There's really the silver lining that we're seeing here inside these dark clouds. I love it. It's wonderful. What a wonderful list, you guys. I think that's really, really heartwarming. So our next speaker, as we wrap that up, is Sarah Mercier. Oh, sorry, we had a second question on this one. I forgot. And then the other half of the silver lining is the dark cloud. What's something that you'd like to forget about parenting during COVID? So menti.com should be the same code, so it should pop up on your screen for you if you're still logged in there. 1757-7560. Making meals. I don't have kids and I agree with this one. There was a bad time in Calgary when there was no takeout and no skip the dishes, and I was cooking. My husband and I were cooking every meal, and we definitely miss eating out. And then on a more serious note, the fear of contracting COVID and passing it on to your family, your children, or your family that lives with you. Absolutely. Kids not seeing their grandparents, dealing with online schooling, I think, as Sheldon pointed out. Not having any help, not having anywhere to go with the kids, just being at home. Learning elementary classes again. Yes, for all the parents who had to help their kids with fractions this year, right? Trapped at home on bad weather days. Teachers are amazing, aren't they, though? I think all of us who didn't remember how great teachers are now reminded of how wonderful they are, pivoting so quickly to online teaching. Kids being put in isolation due to contact at school happened 5 times to my daughter. Gosh, that's so tough. More squabbles. Not being able to give any family members hugs. I totally agree. Poor connectivity. Being judged for doing it wrong. Isn't that tough? And we're all doing our best and we don't know each other's journeys. And people feel that they can weigh in on how we're choosing to parent, how we're choosing to manage during coronavirus. As Sheldon said, this too will pass, and we hopefully will all be stronger and better on the other side. So I'd like to introduce our third panelist, Sarah Mercier. Sarah works in tax in the Calgary office, and she joined Parkland last December. So Sarah, over to you. Could you introduce us to your family and talk a bit about parenting during coronavirus?
Sure. So good morning, everybody. My husband and I are both CPAs here in Calgary, and we have 2 daughters. Right now they're 5 and 2, but last year they were 4 and 1.5. So it was definitely a fun experience. And, we recently jumped on the Peloton bandwagon, and I'm just going to say this is more for those busy working parents. It was like this product and whole program was designed for us. And so we've become obsessed. And so, like Kate, I would like to just maybe talk about my experience and some takeaways rather than tips, because I want to be mindful of it. This is what worked for us, and this was my story, and everybody has, their own unique circumstance and challenges. So maybe something will resonate too. I know a lot of these other stories resonated with me. So if I think back to the beginning of the pandemic, that first or the second or third week of March, it was hard And it was very hard. Everything happened very suddenly. Everything shut down suddenly. And I guess I had the luxury of having a husband who could take care of the kids in the morning. So we were able to divide that labor early on. But, the first few weeks for sure could be defined as troubleshooting. So how do we explain to the kids that all of a sudden they don't go to daycare anymore? How do we keep them entertained all day? How do I work from home? We've never really done that before. And, I joined Parkland at the end of November, early December. So, back at the beginning of the pandemic, I was a different organization. I had a different team, and we needed to start figuring out how my team could work from home. And, just remember the anxiety of all of a sudden, internet was crashing, we couldn't get online, and just making sure that the work family was also taken care of. And, it was definitely very, very hard. And, my house was a mess. My hair was messy and greasy. There was days where I forgot to shower. I'll admit that, but at least our clothes became comfortable. And then again, my clothes were a bit stained with yogurt and peanut butter being a parent, but we can just embrace the chaos and messiness. For our family, though, our saving grace was establishing some form of routine early on, right? So, and it was really important for me to signal to our little kids visually, what was a weekend and what was a work day. So, I woke up every day and changed out of pajamas. It was still sweats, but I changed out of pajamas so that when the kids saw me the first thing in the morning, they saw that it wasn't a weekend kind of thing. And then we also got the kids out of their pajamas and changed them and just invested that time. Hopefully it helped, but since they were little, they needed that visual cue. And then we established this routine, which is, wake up, as early as you needed to get work done, get on those calls depending on what time zone you're talking to, and then work until the kids woke up, helped with breakfast. The kids woke up around 6 or so. We're early risers in our family. And then by 7, I'd go down into the basement, kind of, hopefully it was out of sight, out of mind to the girls so that I could focus as much as I could on work until around 11:30, where I would surface, help with lunch, put the baby down for a nap around 12:30, work again until 2:30. But then I had communicated early on to my team and my boss that I kind of needed a hard stop at 2:30 because that's when I needed to tap in and help with or work on the parenting stuff. And then my husband could tap out, right? But then once the kids went to bed, I'm available. I'll finish off my work for the day, all that stuff, and rinse and repeat. It was hard. I have to admit, I broke down in tears in front of my boss mid-May. And it was very cathartic, though. I do think that everybody needs a good COVID cry because it was a very emotionally taxing time. It was scary. We didn't know. And my boss at the time, he put it right, when you're just going from work to parent to work to parent, all of those moments that we used to have in the day to kind of check out for a minute, like the elevator ride to another meeting, all those things were gone. And so it wasn't definitely a routine. The rinse and repeat wasn't sustainable, but after a while it got a bit easier. Everything became a bit more normalized in this new world, and it wasn't as, it got to be tolerable, and then we were able to go into the office come fall, and everything was a bit better. But what I learned from this whole thing, which is the experience was hard for everybody, with or without kids, because everybody was going through the same thing. The sky was falling around us, and everybody needed to take a moment to figure out how to process this. And so if you were single, if you were a couple, everybody was going through something because the world was just completely changing around us. And so one of the key takeaways from this was I'm really happy that, generally speaking, everybody came out of it being more empathetic. right? Because we recognize, like, if I was going through something crazy and challenging, somebody else must be. I can't imagine what they're going through. And it brought, brought everybody back together, and your work family a bit closer, which is great. And, I can reflect back on this experience and take away some more positive aspects. Like we just kind of had in the Menti poll, which is, my girls got to spend time together. If they were in daycare, they'd be in different rooms and they wouldn't actually interact with each other until kind of end of day and on the weekend. So they became friends. I got to witness key milestones. The the baby Sydney, she was 1.5, so she was learning how to crawl up things, and it was giving us heart attacks every day, but at least we got to see that, if you think about it as a positive. Our older daughter, she learned how to ride a bike, like a 2-wheel bike, last summer, and we helped her with that, and we were able to spend that family time. As a family unit, we learned to cook better. We tried to take everybody's advice and try to focus on local. So we tried to use the farmer's market. And, we really were blessed and fortunate to come out of this stronger as a family unit. And I say blessed because I do recognize that isn't the case, and that isn't the story for everybody. But, it was a challenging time, and, that's my story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. That's great. Our next, so we have one more poll question before we head into talking to our last panelist of the meeting. So the poll question is, what topics would you like to see for future Family Matters sessions? And the code is 9909-1781. And you'll see that pop up just in a second here. So again, what topics would you like to see for future sessions? And the code is 9909-1781. We should start seeing those votes come in shortly here. It's coming. The miracle of technology, guys. We've got this live meeting happening with Microsoft Teams. It's only, I think, the second or third one anyone's run at Parkland, and Mel Forsyth has been running most of them. So there we go. Look at that. The font is very small for me. Mel, do you want to jump in off mute and read those? I can't read them. My old eyes.
No worries. So in first, we've got food, dinner, meal kits, nutrition, and routines. Second is childcare challenges. Third, culture influence on parenting.
Nice.
Fourth, blended families. We've got fifth, fertility journey. Oh, I just went into fourth. Sixth, adoption journey. Seventh, kids activities, tutors, school. 8, parenting through illness, self or child. 9th, single parenting. 10th, pregnancy support. Yeah, so the first one, it looks like food, dinner, meal kits, nutrition, and routines.
Great.
So that looks like it's a big one. And then childcare challenges is also up there. So
Great.
Yeah, hope that helps.
That's perfect. Thank you. So for these sessions, we really would like to feature those of you out there in our Women's Network or Family Matters communities who'd like to be on the panel or would like to contribute. So if you voted for food and nutrition routines and you'd like to volunteer to be on the panel, please drop us a line, parkland.women@parkland.ca. And we would be glad to help. We'll get it all organized if we have folks who would like to be on the panel, and we'll reach out to some people we know around as well to get those top 3 sessions scheduled. And just a plug there, if you're not already a member of the Women's Network, that is the email list that we're using for a lot of these invitations. So if you'd like to be directly invited, please make sure you've joined the Women's Network. You can do that on our page on the path. which is part of the diversity and inclusion page. Or you can just send an email to parkland.women@parkland.ca and we will send you back the link to sign up. All right, and so we'll go to our final panelist of the day. I'd like to introduce Hannah Harewood. Hannah works for our Parkland International Division. She's based in Barbados. She's been there for 8 years as a customer service rep. And so she says it's been a joy to watch the company grow and restructure and to watch the growth as the International Division welcomed Saul to Parkland. So over to you, Hannah. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. Within my CSR role, I manage the direct interface of customer white oil fuel orders and queries, lubricants, as well as LPG. And I see this as being a pillar to our operations team who distribute to our value customers. At work, I'm complimented by my colleagues, especially those I work in tandem with, as being a hero. But at home, I'm also a superwoman, being a single mother to 3 wonderful kids. 2 boys, Nico and Kijani, and 1 girl, Mariana.
Sorry, Hannah, just hang on a second. We're having trouble sending you to the live event.
Okay.
Just 1 second, everyone. There we go. Okay. You want to carry on? Sorry, everyone.
Sure, no problem. All right. I hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. Within my CSR role, I manage the direct interface of customer white oil fuel orders and queries, lubricants, as well as LPG. I see this as being a pillar to our operations team who distribute to our valued customers. At work, I'm complimented by my colleagues, especially those I work in tandem with, as being a hero. But at home, I'm also a superwoman, being a single mother to 3 wonderful kids. 2 boys, Nico, who just turned 19, and Kijani, who is 10, and 1 girl, Mariana, who is 16. The impact of the COVID-19 and making home my office was an interesting and continuous learning experience. This meant not only being an employee at Saul, but also a full-time teacher for my 3 children, which was a bit laughable but enjoyable. I learned a new meaning to the words juggling and work-life balance, as they now existed under the same roof and only meters apart. It provided some great advantages and a few challenges, but I loved the experience. I am naturally an early riser, so doing more focused work before my kids woke became a normal habit. As with COVID, their schedules changed predominantly to a hop out of bed and straight to school a few feet away. This was time management on steroids, and I tackled it with some days feeling a bit challenging, but others days being a breeze. Not only was I managing all my expectations for my role, but the expectations of the educational sector for my children, making sure they were logged in on time and not missing any classes or assignments. While working with my kids, I would engage in less tedious tasks for work, such as filing from home or reading emails, and flagging those which required in-depth and detailed responses for when I returned to my den of focus and priority. No, the challenges were the setting of boundaries, interacting with customers and making sure the environment was still extremely professional. On a normal day, I wasn't in close reach to my kids, but now I am steps away. This was great for them, so anything they needed or wanted, they came running in. But I had to create an air of professionalism. I had to post signs of on a call on my door to make them more aware, or even answer customer calls aloud. This would signal I'm available, but just needed a few minutes to finish a task. Not only do I consider those blood related to me as family, but I spend most of my day at work. Therefore, I do have a work family. Not being able to engage with them physically was quite difficult. We moved from working in a very close-knit space to miles apart. Seeing smiles and hearing their constant laughter, a thing of the past, but not too far from the distant future. In the past, I have been a confidant for some of my colleagues. Some still with us and some moved on to other professional designations. But the constant camaraderie was a joy to have. Sometimes as a parent, we ourselves end up counseling our workmates and being a pillar for them. And this was difficult at first, but new channels became available. I'm quite ecstatic that we are now returning to a level of normalcy. So both my family life at home and my family life at work can emerge stronger than ever. So my tip to all parents out there is this: don't give up. If you haven't already done so, you too will find your new normal. Don't be afraid of change. Find out what works for you and your family and embrace it. I want to thank the Family Matters team for choosing me for this panel. It has been a great honor and pleasure, and I urge you to stay safe, keep smiling, and remember, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hannah. I love the message. Great. So we've had a few questions come in. So I'm going to put the first question over to Sarah. You talked about being a Peloton addict. Where do you find time for all of this between working early, working late? And I think Mel's going to get you popped up. There we are. So yeah, how do you find time to take care of yourself? I think you're on mute. I think you're muted, and I don't know. Mel, can you see how to unmute Sarah? Sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, guys, I can't seem to unmute her on my end. Sarah, are you able to unmute yourself, maybe? No?
Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. Mel, do you want to just put me back up live? Okay, we will, we've permanently muted people, which I don't know that we've ever managed to do before. So sorry, Sarah, for putting you up just as a head with no talking. We do have a few questions, so maybe I'll get folks to respond and we can just put them up on our page on the path since we can't really do questions right now for whatever reason. So just in conclusion, I would really like to say a huge thank you to all of our panelists today. So Kate Groves, Hannah Harewood, Sheldon Springer, and Sarah Mercier. Thank you so much. It's been awesome having you all here in the session, and I really appreciate your time. We've already had a few volunteers coming in for the next few sessions to the parkland.women@parkland.ca email address. So again, send in your ideas, volunteer to be on the panel. And I would like to send a huge thanks to Melanie Forsyth, who's been running this session from the tech perspective and the organizational perspective behind the scenes, and to Rusha Mehta, who has been quiet on the call, but has been one of the hugest organizers for getting this all pulled together. She worked with the panelists to get their sessions pulled together, kept me organized and kept Mel organized, and set up all the poll questions. So thanks a lot, Rusha and Mel, for your help in the background. Again, thank you to everyone. I wish you all continued success and happiness parenting as we come out of COVID and the kids hopefully start going back to school and back to their summer programs, and we can all return to a little bit of normalcy. I encourage everyone to get their vaccines when they're available. We here at Parkland, and I think globally, believe that that's the best path to moving forward to back to a sense of normal. And be well, be safe, be happy, and check out our page on the path. The Parkland Women page and the Family Matters page are both available under the Diversity and Inclusion main page. So thanks again to everyone, and we'll sign out for the day. Be well. Bye.
All right, bye.